Hello, I'm Pliskit, and I've been using Linux for about 4 years now. It's actually probably been closer to five. And I've been seeing a lot more of these types of videos come out recently. I've been using Linux for this so and this amount of time, and why you should switch. And this, it kind of reminds me of the whole, probably like 10 years ago, maybe longer. There was like this series of videos that you would see as genre almost of why I'm switching to PC gaming, why I left consoles behind, blah 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 type of stuff. And so I kind of got that vibe from this new Linux thing, and with a lot more YouTubers and people just kind of being interested in Linux. I thought I'd jump on this bandwagon a little bit and talk about my experience with Linux and how I got to this point and kind of what I'm using right now, and also kind of what I'm looking forward to in the future in terms of using Linux and expanding my horizons. How did I come to Linux? Well, I have always been more of a gaming nerd than necessarily a computer nerd. I didn't really get my first own computer until I was about 18. Pretty much just had the family computer. And of course, anyone that was born in you know, in like the late 80s, early 90s, the main computer OS you're going to be using is Windows. And that's just kind of the default. That's what you would learn in school. Ironically, in like first and second grade or whatever, we used like Macs, or well, it wasn't even Macs then. They were called just like Macintoshes or whatever. But my main thing was always Windows, like most people. It wasn't really until I got my first gaming PC. I picked up this used Alienware computer at a used computer store. Kind of just really got into PC gaming from that point. I was at the time I had the PS3, and really that's like the last console I really cared about. I mean, I have a Switch, but that's more just for like Shin Megami Tensei 5 because at the time it was the only place to play that. And of course, I wanted kind of a Nintendo console for my kids. But either way, when I got a PC, I that could actually run games. I mean, I was basically hooked. I wanted to, tinker with the games. I wanted to try to get the best performance out of my PC. And so that kind of got me a lot more into computer science. So, no, and this is one thing I forgot to mention before. I'm not a developer. I'm not a system admin somewhere. I don't have a computer science degree. Um, Pretty much, I'm kind of self-taught more or less, and I'm not that good with computers. I would say that I'm a little bit better than a noob when it comes to Linux, but kind of getting that out the way. But after kind of years of tinkering with my system, trying to overclock and do all this other stuff, of course, the next thing I wanted to do was build a PC. So back in 2015, I built my first gaming rig, and I still have it. I use it. It's upstairs. It's still running Windows. I did switch to Linux on it for a while, but I'll get into that in a second. But yeah, and after a few years with that computer, after about 6 or 7 years, I was like, hey, I need some kind of change. And I wasn't ready to buy a new PC. I wasn't ready to build quite yet. So kind of the next logical step in my computer science evolution was to, hey, I'm going to tinker with Linux. So Linux is a Unix-like operating system. It's a great alternative to Windows or Mac OS. And I uh, I knew it was time to switch. This was back in 2021, 2022. Proton was out. It completely revolutionized how we could play games. We were no longer tied to Windows to play like all the major titles, even older titles. I was like, hey, this is my chance. So that older computer that I had, I installed Linux. I decided to go all in, went bare metal. I probably messed around with some live CD stuff, messing around with some different OSs, and What I ended up kind of gravitating towards was Pop! OS. Pop! OS is a Debian-based system, and it's pretty much known for being pretty user-friendly, and it's a little bit more niche than say like your Ubuntu's or your Mint, which are, I don't know, I've never really messed around with Ubuntu, but I have messed around with Mint quite a bit. But I decided, hey, I'm going to go with Pop! OS because at the time that computer had a NVIDIA card. And everything I read was, hey, if you're going to be using Linux and a NVIDIA video card, you need Pop! OS. It comes with there was a whole separate SO for it that had the NVIDIA drivers built in. So there's always been a kind of, well, back then especially, there was kind of this weird, if you have Linux or if you have an NVIDIA card, don't mess with Linux. Proprietary drivers and everything. And, we all remember the infamous Linus Torvald, doing his, FU to NVIDIA because of their closed source drivers. So I went with that. Used GNOME. That was kind of the default. That was kind of like the recommended desktop environment for Pop! OS. But what I found was the Pop shell. I think it was called the Pop shell. It's essentially a tiling window manager that just kind of glued on the face of GNOME. And I really enjoyed using a tiling window manager. And though technically it really wasn't, but it was kind of, baby's first tiling window manager. And it was a lot of fun, and I liked that. And so about 6 months later, that's when I built my current PC, what I'm recording this on. It's a full AMD build. And so basically from day one, this has been a Hyprland setup for me. And as you probably see that I have Arch. So that was the big thing that I changed. So because I was like, well, I'm sick of this NVIDIA stuff. It has gotten better in the past couple of years, but I was like, I'm going to go with a full AMD build, and I'm going with Arch because Arch is, it's kind of like the next step. When you get kind of comfortable with Linux, that's what you go to. And I did it the Arch way. I installed it. I used a video tutorial and got Arch. I only failed once. Then I had to restart the whole install process again. But on my second try, I got it. Started with KDE because I wanted to do something different than GNOME. But after a while, I was like, you know what? I'm ready for Hyprland. And Hyprland is essentially a tiling window manager that you can kind of customize and create a desktop environment using stuff like Hyperpaper for your background, for your wallpaper, using Waybar for your not really taskbar, but yeah. But it's a lot of fun because you can go in and really customize your setup. Right here, I got it's called Superfile, and I just started using this. I'm kind of trying to get used to it. I was also using Yazi, which I still have installed, but I'm thinking about just making the full switch. And so when it comes to these kind of do-it-yourself distros, when it comes to this do-it-yourself desktop environment, you're going to be hitting a lot of snags. And so I guess I'm going to kind of get into basically my experience when it comes to using Linux. I'm kind of learning as I go. It's been, almost 5 years, 4 to 5 years. I'm still learning stuff every day. I'm still tinkering with my setup, and it takes a lot of work. Yeah, it's gonna be tough switching to Linux and maintaining your Linux system, especially when you're trying to do Arch. And every answer that you need is somewhere on the internet. You might be going through forum post, not porn post, forum post. You might be going through the Arch wiki, and you're going to be confused. That's just the way it is. When you are learning something new, it's going to be tough. But I do find it to be a pretty rewarding experience. So, for one thing, issue that I had today was my webcam was really glitchy, was really crappy looking. And of course, it turns out it was just an OBS thing. But when you start dealing with different OSs, finding solutions to problems starts to, it can get pretty overwhelming, because 90% of everything you find on the internet is going to be kind of more Windows based, and then when you switch to Linux, you're going to be looking at a whole different area of the internet, and it's not always fun. It's rewarding, and also pretty frustrating. So there's so many little things when you're in charge of your own system. There's so many things for you to have to tinker with. I mean, even just getting this, like, make it transparent, just getting certain files to open up properly. So the reason I'm switching to file, where is or a super file, is because I kept having issues where when I was in these terminal-based file managers, I couldn't open anything in Vim. It would either just fail or it would open it in Nano. And then when I deleted Nano, nothing would open. So there was a lot of tinkering. I finally figured it out. There was like one config file hidden somewhere in the etc folder in the root that I just added a line, and now everything seems to be working. So let's try this. Here, I just got this random file. Let's see what happens. Okay, there, it actually opens. And then when I switch down here, okay, so if I press enter, it opens up in LibreOffice. But that's not what I want. Oh my God. But if I hit it with E, there it goes, it's working. And check this out, I actually know how to get out of Vim. So that's another thing, is there's all these tools that you can play around with in Linux. Vim being a fun one. You can literally turn it into a IDE for programming. You can just use it for simple texting, or for simple text files, configurations. You can write a whole damn novel in it if you want, and you got all the key bindings, and that's fun too. I like learning different. You saw how clumsy I am, but I enjoy having the different key bindings to use, be able to, Control M, I set that so I can open up Wolfie, so I can pull up. And oh yeah, so kind of getting back into what really got me into Linux is that I can actually play games on it. And oh my God, what am I doing with my life? Well, as I mentioned before, Proton is what gets you the ability to play games on Windows games on your Linux, and of course, you use Steam. The other alternative that I don't like at all is Lutris. People love Lutris. I don't, but what I like is Heroic, and so I can log in with my Epic account, I can log in with my GOG account, and I got all my games right here. For some reason, I'm downloading XCOM. And what's awesome is that you can actually choose which Proton or Wine or whatever you want. So Linux can be pretty frustrating when it comes to just configuring your system. So the other day, I decided to install KDE Plasma. My son doesn't really like using Wayland. He's 8. He gets really confused. So I installed that, and I was just kind of messing around. And because a lot of the settings and stuff that Hyprland uses, uh, it's kind of, some of it can be influenced, I guess you could say, by KDE. So all of a sudden, anytime I turn on a Bluetooth device, I would get a pop-up right in the middle, and it wasn't like it would like pop up and then disappear. It would stay there until I came over and actually clicked out of it. So I just completely, I couldn't figure out how to fix it. So the easiest thing I found was completely get rid of KDE Plasma. And once I did that and did a reboot, now it's bringing up the little blue box instead of the undying box right in the middle, which is really annoying because I like to have my PC hooked up to this TV over here, and I would like to be able to sit over there with my game controller and just play a game. But I don't want to have to like get my ass up because hey, my controller disconnected for whatever reason. I reconnect it, and all of a sudden now I got a box. So I got to walk over. I got to click out of it. It's annoying stuff. That's just one random thing. But I mean, overall, I really enjoy using Linux. I enjoy the kind of complexity and all the little annoying things that make me want to pull out my hair. But and that's all like that's just a part of it. That's just a part of computing. It's a part of anything is learning and trying to get better at it. But having said that, I am kind of leaning towards getting away from Arch. I like Arch. It's pretty cool. It's one of those distros that are kind of cutting edge. That goes like the newest packages, most updated stuff, but it does break. And the the update fear that people talk about when it comes to not just Arch, but kind of Linux is you never know when you're going to download or you're going to do an update that either just fails or you end up with a broken system. Luckily, for the most part, other than just like little annoyances that I have to go in and fix or kind of reverse, like the Bluetooth notification thing, I've never had the system just completely break down and not boot. I think I've had more issues with Windows just stop booting than Linux, but that doesn't mean that I haven't had a lot of trouble. One thing is there's two conflicting packages. So with Arch, you got kind of the main repository. You also got the extra repository, and a lot of times those can conflict. And then when you throw in the AUR, that can really add a lot of stress. So I've gotten to the point where I don't even want to use the AUR anymore. And this was even kind of before the whole malware fiasco. I would say instead of using the AUR, just stick to the regular, Pac-Man. I don't really like snaps or flat packs. I use those very rarely. But what I actually really do like is using app images. And I use Gear Lever to actually manage all that. And I found that it's just a lot easier. I'd rather go here and get these, get those app images as opposed to going on the AUR. I mean, unless you go on the GitHub page for a particular project or app, unless it actually directs you to the AUR, I wouldn't use the AUR. I would much rather use app images, or if I can build it myself. But primarily, yeah, I'm using this, or I am using what's in the Arch, repository. And so now I'm looking at other distros that I want to jump on and try out. And I'm kind of down to two. So there is Artrix Linux. Am I saying that right? Artix Yeah, Arctics. So I am looking at this. This is a Arch based, so you have access to the AUR. Um, and I believe it's not System D. So that's another thing, is that people are kind of getting wary of System D because, number one, it's just a big program. It's kind of big and bloated, but it does simplify everything for you. But at the same time, when you got the whole age verification thing, luckily that has kind of died down. And just like having one big program handling multiple things that you might not necessarily need to be handled, it just kind of adds overall bloat and more boot up time. So like we have right here, you got Arctics, which is Arch based, but it doesn't use System D. But the other one that I'm kind of looking at is Void Linux, which is another distro, but it's not based on Arch. It's actually, if I remember correctly, so it's not a fork. It's its own distribution, and there's a lot more. You can tinker with it a bit more. You can really decide how you want the system to run a little bit more than Arch. But there's all this stuff, so I'm really not sure. Another one that I was kind of interested in, Chimera Linux. This is a pretty interesting one. It's almost like a bridge between Linux and BSD. And once again, it's kind of based on its own thing. It uses the Linux kernel, but it uses a lot of tools that that aren't GNU. FreeBSD or BSD, which I can't remember which one there. I could probably read through here and figure it out. But it is its own separate thing, and it seems pretty interesting. But it uses that muscle thing. Like I said, I'm kind of a noob about a lot of this. I understand a lot of it, but I'm also kind of still confused. From what I've seen, is that Steam and gaming isn't great. With those types of tools. So it's better to go with something a little bit more mainstream. And that's why I really am leaning more towards Void. But I haven't made a decision yet. I'm still working on that. But I have this main computer. I got my computer upstairs that I use as a sort of couch gaming / family computer, which runs Windows. It was running Mint for the longest time, but my son wants to play Roblox with me, and so he plays on the Switch. I'll play on the Windows computer. I also have my laptop right here. Just like this computer, it's running Arch, and I actually used the Arch installer script for this. And basically everything that I do on here, I do on there, and vice versa. So it's almost kind of like I kind of like to think that like I try to test stuff on here, but I usually ended up doing on this computer and then migrating it to here. I also have a laptop over here that I use as a web server that's running Arch also. So yeah, I try to keep everything the same terms, and I've been using Arch, but I'm kind of leaning towards Void on this computer, and maybe using Chimera Linux on my laptop here. I don't think I want to mess with the server right now. There's a lot of, I guess you could say, potholes. That's probably not a good analogy, but there's a lot of stuff in Linux that's going to trip you up. Maybe it was a good analogy. And it really just comes down to, you got to read, you got to watch YouTube videos. There's so much great content about Linux. I mean, even just watching shorts can actually really help you out. Like, hey, how do I do this? Oh, here's a short. It's 30 seconds long. The guy shows you the command and how to do it, and you try it and it works, or it doesn't work, and then you gotta do some more research. Like I said, I'm pretty stupid, and if I said anything that was wrong in this video, please let me know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this, and get out there, get away from the Microsoft AI infused spyware. don't support Apple. Why do people support Apple still? When it comes to gaming, stop supporting the consoles. Like, get a computer and put Linux on it and do all your gaming there. There's tons of tutorials, there's tons of information, there's tons of people, that want to help, even though there are some people that are zero help. But computing is supposed to be fun, I think. And sometimes you got to be frustrated with something before it becomes fun. I mean, if you play a video game and you get your ass kicked by a boss 15 times, and then you finally figure out the right combination of skills, and your reflexes just finally catch up to where they need to be. It's the same thing with Linux, or really anything. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a thumbs up, I guess, and I guess subscribe, and maybe I'll make more videos like this. All right, bye.